2025 is a far-right manifesto. It is a 1,000-page bucket list of extremist policies that would uproot every government agency and disrupt the lives of every person who calls this country home. The Department of Education would be eliminated, cutting students off from civil rights protections and ending essential Title I funding for K through 12 schools. The Department of Justice would go on a murdering spree. It would rush to use the death penalty and expand its use to even more people while circumventing due process protections. Project 25 not only calls for national book bans in schools, but also creates a list of banned words for the federal government that would be deleted from, quote, every federal rule, agency regulation, contract, grant, and piece of legislation that exists, end quote. Here are just a few of the words on the list: diversity, gender, reproductive health, and of course, conservatives want to ban the word abortion. On that note, abortion care would be inaccessible and illegal no matter where you live. Now, we could have an entire hearing on how these policies would quite literally ruin and end lives. And I didn't even touch upon proposals for housing, climate change, worker protections, and more. If enacted, Project 2025 would destroy the federal government as we know it. Project 2025 is a far-right.
Those that would make some people believe that because I happen to be Black and or a woman, that somehow, even though I can rattle off all the qualifications in the world, my Blackness makes me unqualified. It did not seem as if my colleague understood that someone can be diverse and qualified. And it is why you have people like me that get very frustrated, not just in the halls of Congress, but in general in this country. Because as I'm sitting here, and there seemed to be this question of you're either diverse or you're qualified, all I could think about was the fact that I currently hold an honorary doctorate. I also hold a Juris Doctorate. I also hold a bachelor's. I also technically hold the rank of Lieutenant Colonel in the Civil Air Patrol. And I actually practiced law for almost 2 decades, in addition to serving on various boards, in addition to being a prior state lawmaker. And there are those that would make some people believe that because I happen to be Black and or a woman, that somehow, even though I can rattle off all the qualifications in the world, my Blackness makes me unqualified.
That's for all the haters, the enemies of equality.
Welcome to the National Newspaper Publicists Association's Let It Be Known, and that ride down the escalator, Marilyn Mosby, Ben Crump. We're going to talk about that this morning. She avoided jail, which was a victory in itself. Still, I think that they need to continue to push for a pardon. She will serve house arrest for a year. They need to still push for a pardon so that she can earn a living again. And that's the other part of this that's unspoken, I guess. But Marilyn Mosby did not receive the 40 years prosecutors wanted. They even hit back on the fact that she's been doing interviews recently, claiming her innocence and they lashed out at her for asking for a pardon. And got to commend the judge for holding back, because the judge actually was sort of kind of in that mindset too, but then said, she does have a right to maintain her innocence. And then instead of the harsh, victimless situation here, you finally get a judge who tempers justice with mercy. And, there's a lot of people, let's not kid ourselves. There's a lot of folks in Baltimore who are not fans of Marilyn Mosby. In fact, they ran out a few that she had prosecuted, and they pointed out that they didn't get a break. And so there was that also in that courtroom yesterday. Really, really interesting stuff. But nonetheless, based on all of the facts that we know, it just seemed absolutely ridiculous that prosecutors wanted a day, let alone 40 years in prison. Um, but Jasmine Crockett broke it down, talking about something different, but you can totally relate it to Marilyn Mosby. And so, and I was thinking the same thing. Power 96 says Representative Crockett told the truth. Now, where are the black men to back her up? Hmm, I'm not 100% this morning, and that just slipped out. But I was thinking the same thing, thinking the same exact thing. Where's the rest of the Congressional Black Caucus, the men of the Congressional Black Caucus? Take a stand here. Take a stand because they've been trying. Listen, she's holding her own, not saying that she needs y'all support or needs y'all to step up and or step forward and defend her. She does a pretty darn good job of it herself. But where are the black men in the Congressional Black Caucus? And it starts at the top. It was, Congressman Horsford, Hakeem. I mean, these, I like Hakeem, good guy, really effective legislator. Um, and maybe his plate's full, but you gotta make some room because your uh, African American women in that Congress is under attack, all out attack. But as you see from Marilyn Mosby walked into the courthouse. She and her two teenage daughters dressed in white. Um, Nick Mosby, her ex-husband and Baltimore City Council president, followed about 20 minutes later, 15 minutes later. But what a relief. You could see it on her face, right? What a relief. Going in there, because certainly when she went in to that building yesterday, she had to have been basically planning that I'm not walking out of here. I'm not walking out of here, not the way I came in. They're gonna take me out the back in cuffs and lead me to county jail. She had to have been prepping at least emotionally for that. And it was good to see her daughters speak. Um, it's unfortunate that they're in that situation, but it was really good to see them speak. And I enjoyed the fact that the daughters, you had all, Latasha Brown speaking, Ben Crump and Barbara Arnwine and others, but just to see the demeanor of the daughters and at such a young age, it suggested a lot of confidence, a lot of power um, that, as Jasmine Crockett said, people don't want to see in black women, black girls, but good for them. And hopefully Marilyn Mosby will pick up her life. A year house arrest. Hopefully, nothing goes awry because she's still going to be under the supervision of the state, which is again where they want you. They want you uh, under their supervision, and unfortunately, that's where she finds herself. That's another reason why I said she's gotta continue to put. She put in the application, so I guess that's all she can do is put in that application for a pardon, and hopefully, the president will do that and relieve her of this burden. She did. She lost her ability to practice law with this conviction. And this is again, this is what I meant to. This part of what I mean when I say that pardon is important. If she's pardoned, it would be like it never happened. She can practice law again. And the question becomes, what does she do for money now? Um, I would say speaking engagements. However, she's not allowed to leave her home for a year. I'm not sure that people are going to pay top dollar for speaking engagements on Zoom. Power 96 says her sentence is house arrest. That further lets them know that the case was a joke. Yeah, but up until the last second, these prosecutors were, I mean, just pushing hard for her to go to prison. So, it's not enough for them to make their point. They got to drive a stake through you, and that is a shame. Well, this morning, Cassie Ventura has spoken out. Speaking of speaking, she's addressed her healing process from the abuse she suffered at the hands of Diddy, and um, in her first statement since all of this broke. Certainly since the apology video. We'll get into that this morning on this Friday. And the U.S. Supreme Court has allowed South Carolina to go ahead with racially gerrymandered map. Um, this is something we talked about before, and um, there is a lot of nastiness on this because Congressman Jim Clyburn was implicated in these in discussions with Republicans some time ago about these maps. And while it assures that Clyburn could stay in Congress as long as he wants, because it pushes all of the black voters into his district and out of other districts. So it basically closes the door for not only other African Americans who want to seek a seat in South Carolina, but it also effectively closes the door on Democrats. He would be the lone Democrat um, that even has a shot in South Carolina after this Supreme Court ruling. Supreme Court continues to uh, show it's very political, very racist, and so forth and so forth. Also, the U.S. Department of Justice is suing to break up Live Nation, the parent company of Ticketmaster, over alleged antitrust violations stemming from your girl Taylor Swift's debacle. We'll talk about that this morning. And Kelly Rowland had some words to say about being rudely disrespected on the red carpet in Cannes, and she strongly, strongly suggested that racism was the motivator. Uh, Kelly, racism was indeed the motivator. Um, so again, getting back to Marilyn Mosby. Um, if you don't know the story, just a brief filler. At the height of the pandemic, um, she withdrew $90,000 from the city's deferred compensation plan and used it to make down payments on vacation homes in Kissimmee and Longboat Key, Florida. Prosecutors argued that Mosby improperly assessed the funds under provisions of the COVID Relief and Economic Security Act by falsely claiming that the pandemic had harmed her travel oriented side business. Her sentencing argument said that the retirement funds came from her own income and that no one was defrauded because she paid an early withdrawal penalty and all federal taxes on the money. The judge did order her to sell the property and all but a small amount she could keep. And it came down to a letter that prosecutors claimed that she falsely stated that Nick Mosby was giving her a $5,000 gift when the $5,000 came from her own money. We talked about that ad nauseum, and so that is the story with Marilyn Mosby, and may she and her daughters get through this next year or so, plus 2 years of supervised release. May they get through it and come out on the other side stronger and better for it. And hopefully, the president, it's usually at the end of the year when the president issues pardons, and hopefully, he will strongly consider and um, grant her a pardon, and she can move forward long before 3 years. So I saw, and we're going to talk about Cassie Ventura. I saw Ashley Bainfield, who used to, uh, well, maybe she's still with Court TV because I think they invited, redid Court TV or whatever. But Ashley Bainfield had some guests on her show, and including the guest was Andrew Wyatt, who is the crisis manager for Bill Cosby. And they were talking about the Diddy case. And the one thing that Andrew said, which everyone agreed with, he couldn't help but agree with it. He said that you know, we keep talking about Me Too, but what about us too? Meaning, though, and this is what he said: those people around Diddy, those people who witnessed this, the hotel security, his own people, when are they going to get prosecuted? They need to be prosecuted as well. How do you stand by and watch a man brutally and repeatedly um, annihilate a defenseless, helpless young woman? She shared a statement expressing her gratitude for the support she has received since the airing of that surveillance video that showed her being just brutally assaulted. She says, "Thank you for all of the love and support from my family, friends, strangers, and those I have yet to meet. The outpouring of love has created a place for my younger self to settle and feel safe now. But this is only the beginning. Domestic violence is the issue. It broke me down to someone I never thought I would become. With a lot of hard work, I am better today, but I will always be recovering from my past." Um, she goes on to turn her focus on others. She says, "My only ask is that everyone open your heart to believing victims the first time. It takes a lot of heart to tell the truth out of a situation that you were powerless in." She says, "I offer my hand to those that are still living in fear. Reach out to your people. Don't cut them off. No one should carry this weight alone." She says, "This healing journey is never ending, but this support means everything." It is quite quite amazing, because up until that video, Diddy had proclaimed that he had done nothing wrong. Power 96 says the only person that can keep Diddy out of prison is Johnny Cochran. Well, that means he's going to prison. But he had proclaimed his innocence up until that video was released. Um, it just begs a lot of questions there. He had to know that that video was in the hands of law enforcement. Um, he had to know that that video was in somebody else's hands, whether it was law enforcement, Cassie, or somebody else. And yet, the narcissist that he is continue to uh, puff on his cigars, and pretend that all was well with the world. I mean, this guy was flat out denying every single detail. And when you do that, and see, this is why, and I mentioned Andrew Wyatt in crisis management. This is why you have these celebrities have crisis managers. This is why they have spokespersons. You don't say nothing. That won't be so bad. Or how about this? How about this? Own up to it. Own up to what you did. But not did he. But I tell you what, did he do it? That's what 50 Cent keeps saying. Did he do it? Um, and I think that's the documentary 50 Cent has sold to Netflix in the bidding war. Or did he did it? I think it's something like that. but 50 Cent is going to come with some sort of hook, and he's promising a series on Diddy, not just one documentary or movie, but a series. So it'll be very interesting to see. By the way, late last night I saw some breaking news. Sean Kingston and his mother were arrested. His mother was arrested in Florida, and Sean Kingston was arrested in California for fraud on fraud charges. Now, the authorities did not specify exactly what happened here, but television crews saw Kingston's mom being taken out in handcuffs from their Florida mansion, and Kingston being arrested somewhere out near San Bernardino, California. And the lawyer made a very, very interesting statement, I thought. Anyway, speaking of statements, Sean Kingston's lawyer said that um, we believe that this is a civil matter and law enforcement shouldn't be involved. So that statement appears, I mean, one can read it that they rip somebody off, that they even acknowledging ripping somebody off, and but they believe that it's a civil matter. But it doesn't matter what you believe. I mean, it's really, really an amazing situation unfolding down in Florida. Kingston has waived his extradition rights and is headed back to, and might be already landed in Florida and surrendering to authorities there. But as his mother was being arrested, he was on social media saying that uh, his lawyers were handling things as they speak. Now, it was a report that said that um, it was a belief that Kingston was not the target, that it was only his mother, but apparently that was not so. Authorities targeted him as well. So, real interesting stuff happening with these entertainers. Wow. Oh gosh, you guys, what is going on? You made it, and then you didn't. So the U.S. Supreme Court has reinstated South Carolina's redrawn congressional map, declaring it not unconstitutional racial gerrymandering. Of course, Justice Samuel Alito, Mr. Stop the Steal, he authored the 6-3 opinion overturning a lower court's finding that the map had illegally removed 30,000 black voters to favor a white Republican candidate in the first congressional district. Um, this again is something that it has a lot of this has a lot of problems, and um, Democrats, I don't know how okay they are with what happened here with Representative Clyburn. Um, Clyburn hasn't spoken at length on this, and so we don't really know the full details of those negotiations that he had with the GOP some time ago that led to such a map, that at least lended to such a map. But we do know that Representative Clyburn was in negotiations and came out. He was the only one that came out unscathed as far as Democrats were concerned. So, this is not to take anything away from Clyburn, all that he's accomplished and all that he has meant to his party and to African Americans in South Carolina. But I think that some explanation is long overdue, and I guess we will see. We will see. Um, the lower court said the judges. This is what they wrote. They wrote that the judges ruled that this goal was achieved by quote bleaching African American voters out of the Charleston County portion of the Congressional District Number 1, moving 62% of Black voters to the 6th district represented by Clyburn. Republicans, by the way, was unabashed. They admitted that the district was redrawn for partisan gain. It was the ACLU and the NAACP who challenged this, the NAACP Legal Defense and Educational Fund who challenged this. And so, but here, that Supreme Court has made its decision. And wow. The U.S. Department of Justice is suing to break up Live Nation, the parent company of Ticketmaster, over alleged antitrust violations. This is the Austin Cooper version of the show. The lawsuit, joined by 30 states and filed yesterday, follows a DOJ investigation into whether Live Nation maintains a monopoly in the ticketing industry. It does, which was an investigation that was launched in 2022 and bolstered, here you go, Austin, by fan complaints following a botched rollout for tickets to Taylor Swift's Eras tour. The Department of Justice said, we allege that Live Nation relies on unlawful, anti-competitive conduct to exercise its monopolistic control over the live events industry in the United States at the cost of fans, artists, smaller promoters, and venue operators. This is what Attorney General Merrick Garland stated. He says the result is that fans pay more in fees, artists have fewer opportunities to play concerts, smaller promoters get squeezed out, and venues have fewer real choices for ticketing services. It is time to break up Live Nation Ticketmaster. The two organizations, Live Nation and Ticketmaster, merged in 2010, and that created that dominant entity in the live event industry. Yeah, it is, Michelle, a monopoly without question. Because through Ticketmaster, Live Nation controls about 80% or more of major concert venues, primarily ticketing for concerts. So they definitely have a lock on this. And now the U.S. Department of Justice says, wait a minute. Because people was, it's interesting. They wanted to see Taylor Swift so bad, they were flying overseas to see her because the cost of this is the incredible thing, and this is what will be presented as they go forward with this lawsuit against Live Nation to break them up. The cost of a ticket, a plane ticket, hotel stay, and concert ticket overseas did not amount to or amounted to less than a ticket here in the United States. So, in other words, if you went to Washington or Chicago or wherever to see Taylor Swift, if you were living in one of those places, it costs you more to go see her there than it would cost you to just book a vacation overseas and see her overseas. R96 says, I don't pay for concert tickets. I know too many people, and I am going to Essence for free again. You're going to dance with Janet. Oh, gosh. Have fun with that, Power 96. Have fun with that. But, to be able to, I remember, let me go down memory lane. Back in 1984, the Jackson's Victory concert, when folks were complaining about the tickets being too high, they were $29.95, the price of a ticket for the Jackson's Victory tour. Now I know inflation, et cetera, but $29.95. Prince's Purple Rain tour, by the way, in 1985, 84, 85, was $17.50. And so now we're talking for like Taylor Swift, Beyonce, and others, a couple of grand or more, which is absolutely preposterous Turn the video on. Go on YouTube. Ah, and people mortgaging their houses to go see Beyonce and Taylor Swift, getting second and third jobs to go see these folks. It's incredible. And so the Department of Justice says, "Hey, we're gonna put a stop to that. No more, no more." So wondering how this will all shake out. When will it all shake out? What type of deal Live Nation and Ticketmaster will cut with the Department of Justice? We'll see. And speaking of Beyonce, her buddy Kelly Rowland was in the news. She yesterday clarified her viral encounter with a security employee at Cannes. Speaking with the Associated Press in a video shared to the Wire Service's Instagram, Kelly said she stood by her decision to call out the security officer for alleged mistreatment. She says, "The woman knows what happened. I know what happened. I have a boundary and I stand by those boundaries, and that is it." Then she also noted that there were other women that attended the carpet who did not quite look like me, and they didn't get scolded or
And there were other women that attended that carpet who did not quite look like me. And they didn't get that scolded or pushed off or told to get off. And I stood my ground. And she felt like she had to stand hers, but I stood my ground.
so if you missed the actual encounter, and as you see in the photo there of Kelly reading her the riot act. But what happens here, there are, they say there's always two sides, but she was 100% right. If you could watch, if I invite folks to go back and watch. You can find video of her arrival, and watch how this security immediately. I mean, she had pretty much just arrived and stopped to take a couple photos, which is what paparazzi and everybody else wants, which is what Con is about. And she immediately accosted Kelly. She wanted her to move along. And even to the point of, reaching, not necessarily putting a hand up, but kind of prodding her to move along. I dare say that if that was Julia Roberts, that would not have happened. But this happened to Kelly Rowland. And people say, well, with Khan, and this part is true, they do try to get these celebrities in quickly because they have such a tight schedule with the screenings. They don't want to be late. They don't want to start late on any of the screenings. But at the same time, um, let's face it, this is why folks pour into Khan. It's not about it's not about the movies that are being screened. It really isn't. I mean, for some actors and uh, producers, directors, etc., it might be, but Khan depends on this. You know how much money it brings into the local economy each year, and why? Because you have the celebrities, and for her to be assertive like that. I mean, she should have moved along. This young left alone, but you see in the face right there, she's getting a kick out of it. She's getting a kick out of it because she knows that Kelly is probably not going to floor her, and so she can get away with some things. But the bottom line is, look, it's the unfortunate reality that there's racism everywhere, everywhere. Who is Khan? Khan France. Power 96 says, who is Khan? Uh, Big sis Monique Daniel says she probably will be looking for another job come Tuesday. Right, right. And sometimes folks deserve that because in all of the interaction I saw and I watched, I'm certainly one who don't think that celebrities have to be afforded or accorded all of this, you know, for lack of a better term, is grace. They're human beings, and sometimes they need to understand that, you know what, all that privilege you got, so what? But this wasn't that case. This wasn't Kelly seeking privilege. She was, yeah, Michelle. She was disrespected. Period. And so, and she reacted accordingly. She 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 let her know because you don't you don't try and publicly embarrass me without me. It was one of those things where I appreciate. We talk about a lot. Michelle Obama said, "When they go low, you go high." No, Kelly said, "You want to go low? I'm with you." She was right there with her. You don't do this publicly to me. So she gave it right back to her. Good for Kelly Rowland. Good for her. And good for you all. It's a 3-day weekend for most. So just be safe, whatever you do, and be smart. And come back next week for more Let It Be Known. But before you do that, go to our YouTube page, or you on Facebook as well. Go to our YouTube page and hit subscribe. And we will send you a note of appreciation. Power 96 says, go low and high five the devil. Wow. I think we'll end it on that note. Thanks for watching. Let It Be Known. We'll see you again next week.